Welcome back, JP, to the show.
What's up, everybody? I'm happy to be here to bring you certain things that have been happening throughout 2026. Everybody saw the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. That's everybody's talking about it. But something interesting about the commercials, how people throw out commercials and all that. The Disclosure movie commercial came out in Super Bowl with what's his name?
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. So he dropped the Disclosure movie trailer on Super Bowl day when everybody's watching. So that's really exciting to see that. If you see the trailer of that movie, right, it resonates a lot with the spiritual realm and ETs and how everything is connected. So I just dropped a video about the Grand Canyon, and I gave more detail on update 16 on my YouTube channel. So we did this update about the Grand Canyon, about me having that experience, and I gave out the information. I gave out the information of the place where we landed, Jerome Town. Okay, that sits in the county of Javampai. Okay, so this Jerome Town has this little hill. I'm going to give a little bit more details here in this video. That's called Cleopatra Hill. Okay, I give hint in pieces. That's from that video was about the library. I think it is the video after that, Doc. It's called the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon Secrets.
Okay, my bad. I brought up
No,
the
you're good.
wrong one. Grand Canyon Secrets. Let's see. So on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Grand Canyon. So there we go. There it is.
So in that video, I explain, right? I explain about going to this town called Jerome Town. And we found this hill, right? We were right next to this hill that if you look at that hill through Google Earth, there's a big J on it. Okay, that the meaning of the J is Jerome Town. And it falls in the county of Javampai, meaning in the language that is said, it means children of the sun, people of the sun. So I was just connecting the dots, but they did find a certain map inside that hill, okay? A map that led them towards the Grand Canyon. This map was found a long time ago. I don't know who found this map, but they keep it in that location, okay? And then from there, we drove north towards the Grand Canyon. And, I was telling people that, putting the puzzles together about Cleopatra Hill, in those days, Cleopatra, she was the queen of Egypt, right? And in those days, they worshiped the sun god Ra, okay? And I gave a map there showing the Tower of Ra, and Shiva's temple. I was given more information about certain location, and Doc, you wrote in your Facebook, and you're spot on. Is near the Tower of Ra. This location, it's locked down. If you try to go there, if you try to go there, it's really locked down. They won't let a lot of people get near it. Once you start crossing the red line, you start seeing white planes flying around and checking you out. You know, you have to go there with the appropriate ranger or archaeologist in order to enter these different types of zones of where the relics and where the Egyptian writings are. You start seeing washed up Egyptian writings entering the cavern. And, you know, just like that, once you enter the cavern, you go through these stairs, and to the left and right, you start seeing Egyptian writings. So yeah, I gave that update about the location in between the Tower of Ra and Shiva's temple. In that location, okay, radius, you can probably find the opening of this Egyptian site. Yeah, that's Cleopatra Hill right there with the J on top by Jerometown. And the most exciting thing is about this town that this town was a mining copper town. Copper. They found the most copper in this mining place. And you know, copper is used for a lot of things. You know, for ancient times and times of today, we use copper. So the main thing about this update that I went to a VA, it's like a bar to play pool. You know, I like to play pool, and this is where all the veterans here in you know, in the area of Eglin Air Force Base, there's a lot of veterans that when they retire, they go to this club, is, you know, this bar, and we play pool and we talk. So I enter this place and I start playing pool, and I meet this Air Force guy. I meet 3 Air Force guy, and one guy is sitting on the bar, and he looks at me, and then he does like this to me. Come over here. And I go to him, and he says, you know what? I know you. And I'm like, wait, how do you know me? Did you serve with me or something like that? He says, no, I know that you do videos. I know that you talk online, and we were waiting for you here. I'm like, well, wait, I never told nobody that I was coming here. How are you waiting for me here? And he had one of those, you know, those old school hats that are not like this, but they're like golf hats, old school hats. And he had glasses, a little bit older. And he tells me, I want you to come with me to the back real quick. And then everybody in the bar stops. And then you see 2 Air Force guys go to the front door, and they're like this in the front door. And I felt not pressured, but like I had to go to the back with this guy. So I got up, I stopped playing pool, and I started walking to the back. And he tells me, we're going to go to this room back here that we have. And we went to a room, right? We went to this door, it was an opening, and then it had stairs going down. And I'm like, wait, we're in Florida. There's no way we don't have, you know, basements here. So what is this? You know, it went down like what, like 2 floors? And this is like in this veteran place. And then we go down 2 floors, and then there's a room, a square room, and there's a regular desk. And he says, sit down. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting down. Okay, I'm gonna relax. And then I hear the door from upstairs, the stairs closing, and then it locks. I'm like, shit, man, what's gonna go on here? What's going on? Am I in trouble? What's going on? And then he takes off his hat, he puts it on the desk, and he tells me, JP, huh? I'm like, yeah, I'm JP. Yeah, who they call JP. He said, you just dropped a video about the Grand Canyon that we're going to probably want you to take down. And I said, dude, I'm not going to take down that video. He said, we know where you live. We know when you get out your house. We know what type of car you drive. We know what you eat, what you don't eat. And I looked at him in the face and I said, is this a threat? Okay. I need to know if this is a threat. If this is a threat, I'm going to need you to open the door and let me out. Or else this is going to turn really bad. And he looks at me. He says, well, this is not a threat. We want you to do another video about what's happening. So, and then my heart went, okay. All right, this guy's a white hat. Okay, this guy is nice. This guy is good. Okay, he's just making sure I'm not. He was asking certain questions to see if I was JP, to see if I was the right person. So he was really talking to me. And then he tells me, he puts on his hat back and he says, that video can bring trouble, okay? Because we're trying to do something here. And I said, when you say we, who are you guys talking about? He said, we the people. And then he smirks. And I ask him, hey, I really need to know if I'm safe here. Because, I still had my doubts by the way they did everything, And I said, am I safe here to talk to you? He's like, yes, you're safe here. This is a type of safe house. And so I said, do you work for the 3-letter agency? He's like, I can't answer that. I can't answer who I work for, but I need to tell you something. And you need to go ASAP and tell this information out. Because a lot of things are going to go down and people are going to be confused. So you are the to-go guy. And I'm like, so why I did not go to Eggland and met up with the guy that gave me the green light and all that, And I asked him, hey, do you know this person? He says, we heard of him, but we need you to relate this message that we're finding behind everything that's happening, that we're finding these giants, right? We're finding these giants in different places. Okay. And they're talking about, he said, we're finding these giants we found these giants in Iraq. Okay. We found these giants, as you saw over here in Florida. We found these giants and these ancient ruins. We're finding them in south of Venezuela. We're finding these massive ships in Greenland. We're finding a lot of certain things, and a lot of people need to understand that, yes, we went to Iraq and the administration said, yeah, weapon of mass destruction, but it's not the same weapon of mass destruction that people thought it was. It was different. It was ancient technology, weapons of mass destruction. It wasn't weapons of mass destruction that we thought we went there for. And they're finding the same thing in Oleski sense. They're finding the same thing, but this is what's happening. And we need this information out. So he hit the table. He said the bad guys, they have the giants. And I look at him and I said, you're trying to tell me that all these giants that we found, now the Black Hats, they're in charge of these giants? And he says, yes. And they're trying to extract their DNA to revive them. Some of them are in a state that they can be revived, but the giants that were not revived, they're extracting their DNA in order to revive them, in order to implement a consciousness that was kept on a certain technology. And I went like, I put my hands in my head and I'm saying, okay, so which race is this? Which giants are these? What are you talking about? And then he says, people that they used to call them gods back in the days. They used to call them gods. And they used to call them, people of wisdom. The book of Enoch, they call them the Watchers. But the bad guys have control of these giants. And the Nordics are trying to work with the good guys. The reason why they took over the arcs and other alien races are helping out on that with the arcs. And they told me that we're trying to push disclosure, but this is happening. It's like not a hostage situation, but they got this. They got these people. They got these giants. I know that soon this information is popping out in different social media platforms. Okay. We got a lot of people that are going to start talking about this, about what's behind the different things that we are doing, what we're finding, what relics we're finding, and what are we finding, or what do we have in our oceans? Okay. And what's happening now with the movement of the waters of the oceans, and the weather is acting weird. This happens every couple thousands of years. And sometimes the water moves away or in different forms when there's a shift that can cover cities, and that's why we're finding all these ancient ruins and like deserts and different parts of the world, and they're just popping up. And you can see the erosion on the pyramids. That yes, in a long time ago they had to have water in that location, because the erosions you can clearly see in different temples in India and different ancient ruins around the world. You can see the water receding. So there are massive floods, and then different religions talk about massive floods that happens every time, because there's a type of pole shift in different ways. I think now implementing AI in the arena, and implementing medical stem cell research that is making people in the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to have people, the FDA have cleared people to start the process of anti-aging properties, to start medication to start working for humans. Well, they're controlling it for the eye only now to kill glaucoma and all that, but it's going to be the same medication to start the de-aging process of people. So like say if you're 60, you're going to go back to like 30 years old, and your heart is going to be stronger, your brain is going to be regenerated, and this is going to be in the next 18 to 12 months that they're going to start these trials, Doc. And this goes with hands in hands of, I'm not saying that it is that particular company that is using that for the giants, right? But I think they're already doing it. Some other companies are doing it in order to de-age these giants. And it's not only giants they're finding, Doc. They're finding our size people too that are in a state of like meditative state, that they had a role also that they were playing. So it's people that are like 6 feet or 7 feet tall as well. You know, we do got the giants, but we also got other people that are in these locations that they're finding in different tombs that they are our size, that they could be walking among us. But the white hats we're working closely with the Nordics, and we're finding these locations. Okay. That's what he was telling me as well. He says, yeah, we know. I was on the table. He was right across from me. He was saying, we know that you're working with the Nordics, or the Nordics are interacting with you. We know that. And they're working really hard. We're also working with the Nordics, and we're working really hard to find these different locations. And apparently there was a location in South Venezuela that we found that had 2 giants in these different areas. So we were like, okay, so there's always something behind something of what they do, of what we do, you know. And then on top of that, we got a temporal type of war going on of people coming in and out from our dimension. Okay. I think John St. Clair, one of the inventors, you know, the ones that that he talks about a certain technology that can make people walk through walls. And I know John Charles talks a lot about that, about him having the ability, and you know, if you look up the patent of that, John St. Clair, he already has that patented up, about how you use the super energy of the air, and you amplify it somehow with a technology, and it can make you jump to different dimensions, but in that same time it can make you go through walls. And that's probably the same technology that these UFOs and these flying saucers have implemented. The reason they can go through certain types of mountains or certain kind of things. Yeah.